It's gradually getting cooler in Korea, and with it, we have numerous new cool K-pop albums to listen to. To talk more about what's trending this fall season in the world of K-pop, we now connect with our K-pop expert, Jeff Benjamin. Hello, Jeff. Welcome back.
Hello, Jeff.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
We are very happy to have you back now. Jeff, we did talk a little bit about K-pop Demon Hunters today with Walter before, and I think with you, we haven't really talked much about the animated movie K-pop Demon Hunters, but the KDH fever sees no signs of cooling down. So we first like to ask you, do you feel like K-pop Demon Hunters is contributing to a bigger interest in K-pop these days?
Yeah, I really do. And even just the name itself, right? K-pop Demon Hunters, it kind of already gets people comfortable with this new music scene, something that they can check out for themselves or look into, whether you enjoyed the film, you enjoyed the music. If you just even get rid of the Demon Hunters part, right, and you check out K-pop, you're just gonna be inundated and I'm sure see a ton of like really exciting music, different artists, different types of culture points. I think even just the name is a great start. But I also think there's a lot of really smart elements when it comes to K-pop Demon Hunters. You know, they really did their homework because this isn't like the first this isn't the first time K-pop's been used sort of as a branding tool. There was a K-pop show that was on Broadway. There's been different, TV shows based around K-pop in the US, but they haven't really found anywhere near the success of this. And I think that's because K-pop Demon Hunters really did a great job by getting not only those who are visible in the scene, getting someone like Twice and EXO on your soundtrack, but also getting, the behind the scenes people like Teddy, Blackpink's producer, working on songs. I mean, there's all these great contributors and creatives that are not only, at the forefront of the movie, but also in the back. So all these things I think are contributing to K-pop's larger expansion thanks to K-pop Demon Hunters.
Right, and it looks like the K-pop Demon Hunters craze is not going to stop that soon.
Yeah.
But Jeff, let's talk about some new faces in the K-pop scene now. Which rookie groups debuted recently, and is there anything that stands out to you?
Yes. Well, you guys talked about one of my favorites earlier, Kickflip from JYP Entertainment. I really think these guys are really cool. I was really into their concept from the get-go, but they are just kind of showing how professional and how ready you have to be for the K-pop scene nowadays. You guys made the great point that they've already performed at Lollapalooza, a humongous festival in Chicago, my hometown. And I think that's just goes to show you really have to be ready and you know lots of times you think about a new artist, right? They kind of build up and they kind of are able to get to a bigger place where you might be ready for Lollapalooza or something. Not today. You got to be ready from day one. So there's a lot of other artists I'm interested in, especially on the boy group side. There's someone called Close Your Eyes. They are a group that are kind of taking those R&B sounds of maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, bringing it to today. Also, AHOF, another boy group. Really, really cool. I feel like we're in a good place with boy bands these days.
Yeah, I definitely think that Kickflip have shown a lot of potential, especially that they've worked so hard within the 9 months that since they've made their debut. They're one of the hardest working rookie boy groups that I've seen so far. But some of the rookie groups are, called the younger brothers of, let's say, BTS or even IVE's younger brothers. What impact does that have on, new groups debuts, like other groups like, let's say, Cortez or even I Did, which I've spoken about before?
Yeah, it's interesting to bring up because, on one hand, first of all, it's not like there haven't been new artists that have debuted under big hit music since BTS, right? Or there haven't been new artists since Starship Entertainment's IVE. But these big names are obviously pulled to drive attention and get kind of create sort of an artistic synergy in that way. But with Cordis, who's shown on screen right now, I actually think there's a good connection here. Portis's big point was that they're very involved in their music, very involved in the production, the songwriting, the choreography. Just guys who are really passionate about showing themselves and showing their creativity on stage. And that's something that definitely aligns with BTS. That's something that made them such global sensations for sure at the beginning. And it's kind of a different case, I guess, because there actually has been another girl group from Starship since IVE. That would be Kiki, a new girl group. And, no, it's not like we're saying they're the younger brother group of Kiki, because Kiki still has to establish themselves after debuting this year as well. So it's this interesting thing that I think is always kind of funny to kind of look at and see what names are chosen where, because it's almost like the labels are trying to position, their artists in this way. Is I Did supposed to be like the male version of IVE or something? Are they going to create those same hit songs, those big, anthems that we all know from IVE? It's an interesting strategy, and I guess it's just kind of, to me, it's just interesting the way that the names that they choose and everything. So I kind of. Sometimes it kind of gets me a little annoyed because there's so many artists coming out. We don't need to, necessarily always just look back at the past and just make these comparisons. But of course, it helps for getting new fans.
I think it definitely puts a little bit of attention on the labels themselves, because if you're not really deep into K-pop, if you're not a K-pop expert, you just like the group itself or the music itself, but not really think about, okay, who's the agency behind it. But if if you have those headlines, okay, the sister group of who and who, then you kind of have that image, oh, I guess they are a JYP band or they are a YG band. So Jeff, now let's talk about not rookies, but some veterans here. So a number of groups that released new albums this year are celebrating their 10th anniversary since their debut, like Day6, Twice, and MONSTA X. So how would you assess their 10 years in the K-pop scene?
Yeah, it's funny. Back in 2015, I actually did a piece just about how 2015 was going to go down in history as just really the most impressive and the most exciting year for new artists in K-pop. And I think it's held up. Not only the great groups that you mentioned, also 17, Oh My Girl, G-Friend, iKON, and Flying Up Tension. It was a really good year across the board with a lot of these groups. And I love that not only are they, still kicking, they're celebrating these 10-year anniversaries, but in a lot of cases, a lot of them are hitting new milestones as artists. So it's really kind of exciting to see that, K-pop, it for a long time, it was really known as an industry that churned out artists very quickly. And lots of artists, maybe if they were lucky, could last 5 or 7 years. Now we're hitting 10 years, and a lot of artists are doing really great. Twice has, I think, 2 songs on the Hot 100 this week. It's really, really kind of I think an exciting moment for K-pop, but also I think for the larger music industry in Korea, right? It's showing that these artists, don't need to just depend on 5 years, 7 years and think about their next move. They can really have a healthy career and hopefully keep going and keep doing the things that they love to do.
Right. And in the case of Day6, for instance, some are actually doing even better 10 years after their debut, because sometimes those hits just, get bigger and bigger after all those years. We talked about that reverse trend recently.
Yeah, we didn't we? And you did mention 17 before, and 17 I've been talking about them this whole year, and the fact that they've, like you said, they've been always in the news as well, and they are achieving milestones after milestones, and they've got a new milestone with a subunit that they've just recently made with S-Coups and Mingyu. Now, they're expected to drop a mini album as early as next week. I've actually listened, they just brought out a clip recently, I think it was only just less than 24 hours ago, of some of the tracks that they've got, and it's some bangers on that. What do you, these sort of subunits are becoming more and more common amongst a lot of the boy groups especially. We've seen a lot of girl groups do subunits. What do you expect from this new duo, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, subunits are definitely something, that's part of almost like the K-pop DNA, right? And what's really great, I think this one in particular with S. Coups and Mingyu, it looks really cool. Of course, both of these guys are part of 17's hip hop unit, right? So on one hand, I'm expecting something kind of really trendy, trendy hip hop styles based on today's trends. We look at this trailer that looks so fun. They filmed it in Los Angeles, I believe, or California. But also, on the other hand, many times a subunit can actually be a place to, experiment and try something new. So, who knows? Maybe S. Coups and Mingyu will flip it up on us, and we'll have something kind of unexpected from them, or something really fresh and exciting from them. I think what's been really great, especially from the 17 units, is that they kind of keep us guessing many times. We never really know what to expect, or sometimes the single will be very different from the other tracks on the album. So 17 in particular, and I loved the Woozi and Hoshi unit that came out this earlier this year, and that one was really unexpected too. Lots of unexpected vibes. But I'm gonna give you guys a little prediction. Next time we check in, we'll see how we did. But I have a feeling that that Mingyu and S. Coups album is going to chart on the Billboard 200 when it's released, and they'll be the first 17 unit to chart in the US. So that's my prediction, and I think it's going to possibly be the highest charting subunit ever. So that's what that's my big prediction for this.
Okay.
Inside news.
I kind of got some goosebumps right now.
Yes.
But Walter, do you actually have maybe a favorite subunit?
For me, I've got a favorite female subunit, which is Misamo. So Mina, Sana, and also Momo from Twice. I love them a lot. How about you, Soa?
Actually, similar with me. It's a girl group, and it's Taetiseo.
Oh, Sonia
Taeyeon, Tiffany, and Soyeon.
Yes,
yes. So it's like
going old school.
Twice versus Girls' Generation. All right, Jeff, now let's move on and talk about some new solo albums now by members of K-pop groups. So please tell us about them and what kind of new music styles can we expect?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many that have even just dropped this past month even. Quickly to list a couple: Red Velvet's Wendy, Twice's Chaeyoung, 2PM's Jungkook and Jang Wooyoung, EXO's Suho, NCT's Haechan. You guys mentioned subunits. One of my favorite subunits, Orange Caramel's Nana, who's also from After School. She just released her first solo album after 16 years in the industry. Crazy. But Dayoung from Cosmic Girls and WJSN. It's really, really cool because what I love is, especially when someone's making a solo debut, and I think this is true, no matter where your group comes from, right? You need to kind of show something different. You need to show something fresh, something new to yourself, something that says, this is who I am beyond my group. And, someone we're seeing right now, Suho from EXO, he's a huge rock fan, and he's always been able to show his love of rock, his love of different kinds of rock, and he's been able to do that. Now he's up to his 4th mini solo album. And I think that's been really, really special from a lot of these particular releases lately. Twice's Chaeyoung, even though she's riding so high on the K-pop Demon Hunters success with her song Takedown with Jihyo and Jonghyun, she kind of came out with this quirky, indie, sort of unexpected, experimental kind of track. And I thought that was just so cool to see that, it's an artist sticking to her guns. She could have definitely made Takedown Part 2, but, we see someone like Wendy, one of my favorite voices in K-pop, who also released her own an album that just kind of speaks to who she is. And I just think it's really special to just really get these kind of moments where sometimes you're not exactly sure what path an artist is going to take. For example, Wooyoung from 2PM, he's done so well as an actor, right? But here he is returning to music again with a great album, once again proving he hasn't lost his musicality, his vocals. Just great stuff across the board. So the solo albums are going hot. They're really doing well. And I'm just happy that everyone's continuing on to continue on.
Right. I have to agree with you, especially also not only Jang Woo-young, but also Nana. She also kind of turned to an actress, but coming back as music, as a K-pop star. Really looking forward to that. Now, finally, just briefly, Jeff, do you have an assessment of the latter part of 2025 when it comes to the K-pop industry? Because we're now around halfway through the second half.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, we've talked about a lot of highlights, right? And I don't want to sound too negative today or anything, but I guess, if I was giving a grade or assessment, and maybe this is my fault, because I just felt like 2025, right? We were like, this is the year BTS is coming back, Blackpink is coming back, it's gonna be huge for everyone, a rising tide lifts all boats. But it hasn't necessarily been that. K-pop Demon Hunters has been a huge surprise in terms of how the K-pop industry is being represented. So on one hand, huge years and a lot of credit due for Stray Kids, Twice, ATs. But I think there's still time for some big moments to come, whether that's a new Blackpink album, BTS's comeback is on the way. So there's a lot still to come. And I kind of want to say like I'm still excited and I want to keep the vibes going to hopefully, make that big moment happen to really cap off 25 in a big way.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for today. And probably we have lots to talk about next time as well. So thank you again and see you next time.
See you next time, Jeff.
Guys.
And thank you, Walter. As always, we're going to see you back here tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.